Howdy guys, this is group 13A. My name is Yahaira Canizales, class of 2020.
Howdy, my name is Simi Olowe, class of 2020.
My name is Angela Valley, class of 2019. Whoop! Today we're going to be discussing the attribution theory and providing a real-life example of it at the end of the video. So let's get started.
Howdy guys, so first things first, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of briefly explain the learning objectives. So after watching this video, our hope is that students are able to explain and understand the three dimensions of attribution. We also want you guys to be able to tell the difference between dispositional and situational factors when regarding behavior, as well as being able to tell the difference between the different attributional biases. And finally, we want you guys to be able to understand the three dimensions of attributions.
Okay, so howdy guys, I'm going to be giving a brief overview of the explanation of attribution theory. So basically, when explaining attribution theory, that is the theory that cognitive processes related to how we explain human behavior and the judgments made about who's responsible for those behaviors. When discussing attribution theory, there are two different types of factors that we like to correlate with them: dispositional factors and situational factors. Dispositional factors they refer to a person's internal or personal features, such as one's character traits or biological traits. So let's say, for instance, someone is late to a class. They can say to that professor, they can say, oh, being late just runs in my blood. That's a sort of character trait that they have for themselves. Whereas in situational factors, that refers to external dynamics that are relatively uncontrollable by that person. So let's say someone is late to that class as well, but they go to their professor and say, oh, my car broke down on Holloman, so I wasn't able to make it to class on time. And those are the two ways we differentiate between situational factors and dispositional factors when relating to attribution theory. So now we're going to discuss the three dimensions of attribution.
Howdy, I'm Angela Valley, and I'll be discussing the three dimensions of the attribution. So the first one is locus, which is internal versus external. So that's kind of like an actor versus situation. That's where the actor has actions that are more defined by his character, whereas the situation is defined by outside factors that could affect what choices he makes in that certain situation. The second one is stability. This is stable versus unstable. So this deals with a person's character over time, if it's consistent or inconsistent. So this would be more like a professor who starts off the semester by saying that he doesn't give any extra credit. By the end of the semester, he gives, 50 points extra credit. So you would consider his stability to be unstable because he said he was going to do one thing, but over the course of the semester, he completely changed his entire being and ended up giving a lot of extra credit. The third and final one is controllability. So this is controllable versus uncontrollable. To where the actor can or cannot control the decisions he makes. So for instance, an actor for uncontrollable would be he forgot to set his alarm for a class, so he didn't get up, didn't go to class. That would have been controllable. However, a actor who has his car breakdown would not have been able to avoid that in that situation. Next, we're going to be going into the attributional biases and finally the real life scenario. Speaking about attributional biases, the first one is fundamental attribution error. So this is kind of like setting yourself up on a pedestal. So say a student is late for class. You'll be like, oh, they're always late. That's kind of just their character. However, say you're late for class, you're like, oh, I've only been late once this semester. You kind of make an exception for yourself, and that's just kind of a predisposition about others. So the second one is exceptionality effect. So this is when you tend to over-attribute because of a specific characteristic about someone. So such as being in some extracurricular activity within the university or being, a prodigy or something like that. So in this video, the first scenario we're going to show is going to show exceptionality effect in terms of a professor and giving credit towards a grade. So you're going to see that the student is in the Corps of Cadets and is going to use that as the exceptional characteristic to determine whether or not he's going to give this student the extra credit, even though he said it was a zero tolerance. Hey, Mr. Jones, can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah, Andy, come on, have a seat.
So I'm coming to your office hours because I have a little bit of a problem. I know you have a zero tolerance kind of policy in your syllabus, but this past assignment, it's the first assignment that I've ever turned in late.
I usually turn my assignments on time, and I usually give you really good products. So what I'm asking is, for this one time, would you be able to kind of go outside of your policy? Because we had March to the Brazos this past week, so that's an all-day event. It took about 8 hours to complete that. By the time we got back, we were all really tired. And once I got back, it was already too late to turn in the assignment within the window that you gave us. So I'm just asking you, would you be able to kind of put aside your syllabus right now and just make like one exception?
You know, I think due to your history as an exceptional student in my class and due to the fact that the core is pretty time consuming, I think I can make that exception for you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Let me know if I can ever help you out with anything.
Yeah, have a great day.
You too.
So since we just discussed exceptionality effect, we're going to move on to the third attribution bias, which is recency effect, which is over attribution caused to the most recent events. So basically this goes into the fact of decisions regarding the person's most recent behavior or actions. So in the next clip we're going to show you guys, we're going to see Bobby the student dealing with a professor who has a zero tolerance policy on late assignments. And because Bobby had such a great start of the semester, but most recently has been declining and been more lazy with their assignments, the professor is not as likely to give her the full credit of the assignment. So take a look at this clip. Howdy, Professor Jones. I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah, come on in.
I had a bit of car trouble last week, and I wasn't able to turn in the assignment that you had assigned. I know you have a really strict policy when it comes to late assignments, but I was really hoping I can get half credit rather than the 0 on the assignment, because half credit or a 0 would really ruin my grade right now. Is there any way I can get half credit?
You know, I will say that you started on a really strong foot this semester. You were pretty promising. However, your recent grades and your recent performance has kind of shown me that you kind of started to get a little bit lazy with your work, and just in my opinion, it hasn't shown me that you have earned that extra half credit. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Thank you, Professor. I appreciate it.
Have a good rest of the day.
You too.
Okay, so you guys have now learned all about the fundamental attribution error, as well as the exceptionality effect and the recency effect, and I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys a little bit about the primacy effect, and that pretty much is all about first impressions. So kind of like how people are going to respond to your behavior or your actions in the beginning. So you guys are going to go ahead and see a clip of that now. Hi, Professor Jones.
Hey, Charlie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
So I just kind of had a question about the assignment that we had over the past weekend. I wasn't able to turn it in on time, and I know you have like a really strict policy as far as like submitting things late, and I know I didn't start off super great just because, like, you know, it's my first time here, or like first time being away from home, and it's just been kind of rough, but I have, you know, like really picked up, and it was just this one assignment that I just wasn't able to turn in on time. Is there any way I could maybe get like half credit rather than like a full 0, or?
I think you have stepped it up a lot. Unfortunately, when I look at students, I have to look at the semester as a whole. And so I take into account the beginning of the semester and the end of the semester. Those are really big for me. And at the beginning of the semester, it was kind of rocky and you did kind of slack off for whatever reason that might be.
Right.
So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to give you that extra half credit. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, it's okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you have a good rest of the day,
Thanks,
Charlie.
you too.
Yeah.
Howdy, after watching this video, I hope that you have a better understanding of attribution theory and all of the components that make up that theory.
Thanks,
and get gum.